Welcome to the MTC Report, the news behind the news with journalist Mark Taylor-Canfield. We offer you independent voices and underreported stories about topics you won't hear anywhere else. Join us as we delve into the deeper issues behind the news stories of the day on the MTC Report.
Don't go anywhere. The MTC Report with Mark Taylor-Canfield continues next.
Donald Trump will have to release 5 years of tax returns if he wants to appear on the Illinois ballot in 2020 during the presidential election. This, according to the state Senate, which just voted on this. The bill, which still requires approval by the state House of Representatives, which is full of Democrats, by the way, comes amid a growing tension in Washington over Trump's refusal to release his income tax returns and make them publicly available. It's an unprecedented move. The U.S. Treasury ignored a congressional deadline to release the tax forms earlier this week, and the Treasury Secretary claimed that the request by the Ways and Means Committee was, quote, politically motivated, unquote. Trump has claimed that he cannot release his tax returns because they are under audit by the Internal Revenue Service. Well, in Illinois, the bill would need to be signed into law by Democratic Governor J. Robert Pritzker if it passes through the House, which is controlled by Democrats. Pritzker has yet to take a public stance on the issue, but I think we know what he's thinking. Meanwhile, Romney hits the Democrats for trying to get Trump's tax returns, and he calls it moronic amid a push by Democrats to obtain President Trump's tax returns. Senator Mitt Romney, former presidential candidate, Republican from Utah, called their efforts, quote, moronic, unquote, despite declaring in 2016 during that campaign that there could be a bombshell involved in the president's tax forms. On NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, Romney said that he'd like Trump to reveal his tax returns, but he added, going after his tax returns through a legislative action is moronic, unquote. Democratic chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Richard Neal, sent a letter to the Internal Revenue Service on Wednesday, formally requesting 6 years of the president's tax returns. Well, the fight over the tax returns heats up. Trump hires lawyers to block Congress. President Trump has assembled his new legal team to fight the House Democrats' demand for 6 years worth of the president's elusive tax returns. The formal demand was made by Representative Richard Neal, a Democrat from Massachusetts and head of the House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee. The Ways and Means Committee earlier this week set up a court battle between Trump and his Democratic antagonists by demanding the tax returns. Trump retained the law firm Consovoy McCarthy Park PLLC to represent him. According to William Consovoy, Trump's personal attorney, quote, the requests for his private tax information are not consistent with governing law. We are confident that this misguided attempt to politicize the administration of the tax laws will not succeed. Well, Neal has also asked for returns for Trump's trust and 7 Trump business entities. He contends that Congress has the authority to review the returns under a tax law, that one being passed in 1924. Trump has for years maintained that he's never voluntarily given up his tax returns because he is allegedly under audit by the Internal Revenue Service. However, the truth is that no law prohibits him from releasing the long sought after tax returns, even if there is an audit going on. No way. Mulvaney says Dems will never see Trump tax returns. Democrats will, quote, never, unquote, see President Trump's tax returns, said White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney in an interview on Fox News Sunday. As a new front opened in the confrontation between the administration and Congress, Mulvaney accused Democrats of engaging in a, quote, political stunt, unquote, and wanting, quote, attention, unquote, after the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Representative Richard Neal, formally asked the IRS to provide 6 years of Trump's personal tax returns and the returns for some of his businesses. Well, last week Neal, a Massachusetts Democrat, asked for returns covering 2013 through 2018. He also asked for the documents in 7 days, setting an April 10th deadline. So, are the Democrats breaking the rules? According to the GOP, they are. Republicans and Trump administration officials are saying that the Democrats are breaking the rules by requesting the president's tax returns. Quote, when you have people in Congress who, for political reasons, are trying to get access to someone's tax returns, that's as wrong as it gets, according to Representative Jim Jordan, a Republican from Ohio. Well, Republicans used private tax returns for political purposes not very long ago themselves. In fact, in 2013, Republicans thought the IRS under President Obama was, quote, mistreating conservative groups. Congress has the power to ask for copies of anybody's tax returns thanks to a 1924 law enacted as a check on corruption in the executive branch.
The MTC Report, the news behind the news with journalist Mark Taylor-Canfield.
Hi, this is Mark Taylor-Canfield for the MTC Report. Will Donald Trump have to turn over his tax forms? Well, if the state Senate in the state of Illinois has its way, the answer would be yes. They just voted to bar him from the ballot in the state of Illinois during the 2020 election if he does not turn over his tax forms. There's also the Democratic Party in Congress on the Ways and Means Committee who are also trying to get him to release his tax forms. And they are claiming that a 1924 law gives them that power to force the president to release his tax forms. For folks who take the position that the president shouldn't have to release his tax forms, well, there's a problem with that because now you're actually standing for allowing corruption in the White House and the executive branch of the United States government, because that law in 1924 was passed in order to try to stop corruption at the highest levels of our government in the executive branch of the government. So if you are against the president releasing his tax forms, then I guess you support corruption at the top of our government. It's a really slippery slope for the Republicans to take that position. Of course they have, though, because they don't want to face the ethics problems of their own leader of the party. And they're also using scare tactics in order to scare people away from this issue by saying, oh, it could be you next. If they force the president to release his tax forms, then you will be forced to release yours at some point too by this overbearing government. It's funny how the Republicans are all against big government until it comes to things like, war and building walls, but Homeland Security. But otherwise, they love the idea of trying to say that the government is interfering in your life. Well, look, the president should release his tax forms. Everybody knows that. It would be the moral, ethical thing to do. Every president since 1974 with Richard Nixon has done that. So what's the problem, Donald? You got a problem? Something you don't want people to see? Well, it gives us the impression that that is true, whether it is true or not, the fact that he refuses to release his tax forms. So, everybody should be held accountable, especially folks in government. There should be ultimate transparency if possible in a democratic society. So, yes, people should know where the president gets his money and how much taxes he pays, if any. So regardless of what you think about Trump, there are a couple problems here. For instance, his lack of transparency, which is not a good thing for a democratic ruler. The other problem is he seems to want to buddy up all the time with strong-arm types across the world who are dictators themselves, including his welcoming of the military leader of Egypt just recently, who basically helped, with a coup, take over the democratically elected president after the Arab Spring. And then later, that government also killed over 700 protesters in Egypt. And yet, Donald Trump has, welcomed this guy into the White House as a good buddy. So there's a problem if you're talking about issues of democracy. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield for the MTC Report, and of course, at Democracy Watch News, where I'm executive director, and in all the rest of my journalism, I am very concerned about democracy and transparency. That is one of the reasons why journalism exists and why we must be watchdogs. So if you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. Like this video, and then subscribe to my channel, and please share it with your friends and family and other folks, and let them know that there's independent media out here. Nobody is paying me to do this. I am an independent voice speaking for myself. So this is Mark Taylor-Canfield for the MTC Report. We, by the way, have over 400 videos on my YouTube channel, including my music and some cartoon animated satire, political satire, some songs about Bernie Sanders, and all sorts of stuff. So check it out. There are many different networks involved with my YouTube channel, so there's plenty for you to seek out there. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield. I also write at Daily Kos, Medium. I am a regular contributor to the Jeff Santos Show, broadcasting from, formerly from Boston and now from Providence. And so we do a lot of talking about progressive politics in the United States. So if you believe in democracy and you want to see this country progress, and you want to see us not become a second or third world nation in terms of our amenities and public services, then check out this channel and other progressive voices out there who are trying to keep us on the right track and moving forward in a progressive manner. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield for the MTC Report. One more thing about this idea of the president being not needing to release the tax forms. Republicans, I just want to let you know that this is a double-edged sword here. If you stand for this kind of an idea that the president doesn't have to release that kind of information, that can also stand with a Democratic president. So if you ever have a Democrat for president who is incredibly corrupt, guess what? By the president you're setting right now, you should not be forced, that person, he or she, should not be forced to release their tax forms, regardless of whether they're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or a socialist or whatever. So just remember that, folks. This is Mark Taylor-Canfield for the MTC Report from Seattle.
MTC Report, the news behind the news with journalist Mark Taylor-Canfield. We offer you independent voices and underreported stories about topics you won't hear anywhere else. Join us as we delve into the deeper issues behind the news stories of the day on the MTC Report.